Welcome to the coolest stuff on the planet.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Catherine, and we're the coolest stuff on the planet.
And today we're going to check out one of the coolest cities on the planet. Well, I personally think so. So we've been kind of touring cities around the world lately, and today we're going to check out Chicago. And for me, growing up in the Midwest, Chicago was always kind of like the big city.
Yeah.
You know, aside from Indianapolis, Chicago was the big city. So it's kind of always held a special place in my heart.
It's one of the biggest cities in America. It's the third largest city, and it was famous for the Chicago Fire of 1871, which was supposedly started by Mrs. O'Leary's cow, but
which is not actually true.
Not actually true, no. Just a great legend. But what interesting thing that came out of that fire was that all the buildings got destroyed, so it was sort of like they had a blank canvas to start again and just rebuild it architecturally.
And that's one of the things that makes Chicago really interesting, is that from that period, like, so much modern architecture basically flourished.
Yeah. The other thing that Chicago is famous for is the Millennium Park, which was supposed to have been opened in the millennium, but cost overruns and all of that. It ended up being opened in 2004. And it's about 24 acres in size, and it's famous for it has a lot of fountains and sculptures, gardens. A lot of architects also contributed to that park.
Yeah, a lot of modern stuff in particular. You have some Frank Gehry stuff, and I think the thing that's my favorite, and maybe the city's favorite, is the Cloud Gate sculpture.
Oh yeah, what's
which
that?
is affectionately known as the bean. It's kind of like a bean-shaped, shiny metal sculpture, and people love to take photographs of themselves in it because it's reflective. So it's kind of fun. I've seen people like lying down and taking pictures, and you can go underneath it and see yourself.
So it's like a mirror almost.
Yeah, and it's cool because it mirrors like you see all the buildings nearby reflected in it. So like it was a really good idea to put it together, because just the sort of reflections are really neat.
Yeah, and I think they considered it one of the biggest projects to ever been done in Chicago for 100 years or so.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And one thing I noticed, I was going to tell you, Catherine, about it, is that because it's so shiny and stuff, it has fingerprints all over it. Like if you look close, you see fingerprints. So I kind of was wondering, and I was asking you, I wonder how often they have to clean it up.
No, probably every day or something.
With all those fingerprints. I don't know.
Did you see somebody walking around with a little squidgy
I didn't, but I just wondered, like, surely at some point they have to polish it again. So I just wondered how often. So if anyone knows, please tell us. That'd be cool to know.
Yeah, and another cool thing about Chicago is the L, the train. It's called,
yeah.
Oh yeah, you've been on it, and so have I actually.
Classic, yeah.
Yeah, and it's called that because it's most of it is elevated. And one of the interesting things about it, apart from it going through all the old parts of Chicago, is that it passes so close to the houses that when you're in the train, you almost feel like you could reach out and touch someone's windowsill. You know?
Yeah. No, I remember, and the last time I was there, when you told me that, I was thinking about it, and I was like, yeah, I really did notice that some of them are so close. You know, and you're like, wow, how can we be so close to that house or that building?
Now I'll just look right in and see what they're up to. You know?
Yeah. I wouldn't want to live that close, but
yeah, and it's pretty noisy.
And then, speaking of attractions of the city, of course, Catherine and I would be remiss if we didn't talk about the food. You want to take it away with the pizza?
Well, one thing that Chicago is really known for is deep dish pizza. And this was actually created in Chicago in 1943 at Pizzeria Uno, now just called Uno's. And, you know, they wanted to make this pizza that was very hearty, much more than, say, the typical Italian. So it's got like an inch-high crust, full of cheese, full of toppings, just gooey deliciousness, and now I want one.
It really is like a pie.
Yeah,
it's a
more.
Pizza pie.
Yeah.
If nothing else is a pizza pie.
Yes,
so.
Definitely. What do you like about Chicago food-wise?
So I think my favorite thing about Chicago food-wise, well, I don't think, I know, is the hot dogs. I sort of have a love affair with hot dogs in general. I think we talked about that on the Frankfurt episode. It's just a thing for me. Chicago's hot dog in particular, it just has everything that I love. It has these peppers, it has tomatoes, it has a pickle spear, it has a little celery salt. It's always a beef hot dog. It's always on a poppy seed bun. It has mustard and onions, and it is delicious.
Wow. And I think you were saying that no ketchup is allowed.
It's kind of like some foods in certain cities, which we may talk about in another episode, where there's a certain etiquette that goes with this food, and with the Chicago dog, no ketchup is allowed. No ketchup ever on this hot dog. So just keep that in mind if you ever order one in Chicago. Do not ask for ketchup.
No, I will keep that in mind because I love ketchup, so I don't want to be kicked out of Chicago. So
or
I'll
like
remember
put the ketchup on later, like when you've moved away from the
covertly.
hot dog stand. Yeah, covertly.
Yeah,
exactly.
One thing I thought would be cool is we've both been to Chicago, so it might be interesting if we both talk about our favorite experiences there.
Yeah, cool.
I'm going to share mine, which was visiting Lady O on the Oprah Winfrey Show.
Lady O.
Lady O, known to her acolytes as Lady O.
Uh-huh.
And it was really fun. We got tickets for, one of the tapings, which was early in the morning. And it was one of those episodes called My Favorite Things. And between the tapings, everybody kind of just waited to see what she would do. And she was, friendly, but not super friendly with everyone. So I asked her a question, which was, where'd you get your shoes? And she said,
really?
and she said, Ralph Lauren. So that was my 2-minute exchange or 2-second exchange with Oprah. So
nice.
It was very cool.
Sounds like a fun experience.
It was definitely fun, and it was on my list of must do. So what was your favorite experience?
I think every time I go to Chicago, honestly, my favorite thing aside from grabbing a hot dog is just walking around in the city.
Mm-hmm.
I just like to walk along Michigan Avenue and kind of stare up at the buildings and maybe go look at the bean and put my fingerprints all over it. But yeah, no, I really just love walking around the city. It has a great vibe.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my favorite thing, I would say.
Okay, cool. So that's all we've got on Chicago in our podcast. And if you'd like to learn more, we've got a ton of related content on our website and on our blog. There's a posting by Amanda Arnold on the 26-foot-high Marilyn Monroe statue that you can see on Magnificent Mile.
And we'll see you next time for more cool stuff.
For more on this and thousands of other topics, visit howstuffworks.com and let us know what you think. Email travelpodcast@howstuffworks.com. Don't forget to check out our other podcasts, free on iTunes.